Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, all of Philadelphia and around the country, those Eagles fans everywhere. This is your boy, Jason Avant, along with my man, Quintin Mikell, for another episode of the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform, YouTube channel, Amazon Music. Check us out any and everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at your mama's house, in the conversation, barbecue, wherever it may be. We're answering questions from you guys, our fans, and we just want to say thank you guys for all that you're doing and making our show a success. And all the questions that you are giving to us on insidethebirds@gmail.com, insidethebirds@gmail.com. Continue to bring your questions there. We'll have an answer. Q, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back. Another beautiful day. Had a great day outside. Had to play my son in basketball. Had to go G mode on him. You know,
Did you take it to him?
I had to, man. He's getting too big now. I had to show him up, so I'm feeling good right now. You know,
that's nice taking it. Listen, I make sure I block every one of my children's shots. Some of you guys say it's mean, but I say, look, they'll come up and be creative. If I keep blocking their shot, they'll start faking. I'll bring the creativity out of them. They'll step on my shoe, they'll hit me in the nuts or something in order to get the basket off. So I'm just teaching them that grit, teaching them that fire. That's all they learn it like that. So again, we want to say thank you guys for all that you guys are doing. We had a very successful show last week. People were giving us questions from everywhere. Again, insidethebirds@gmail.com. We got questions off of Instagram. We got questions in passing. We got questions on Twitter. And we're going to do some of those things again this week. There's a few topics, Q, that I wanted to talk about before we even got into it. And I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up, but it's something that we both can, relate to. There's a few things that are just swirling. I always like to talk about the swirling things. There's a swirling rumor out there that the Eagles may be in on Julio Jones. What do you think about that story?
Listen, man. So a lot of times when we have our conversations, right, and you talk about the type of player that they need in that receiver room, and that's the first name that always pops up in my head. But it always seemed like man, get out of here. Ain't no way that's gonna happen. And then fast forward to last week when it started kind of leaking out that they're looking to move him. So I'm like, yo, Howie, whatever you gotta do, man, let's get it. Because he's definitely the type of person we need in that receiver room, the type of person we need for a young budding quarterback, a young budding offense, a guy that can just step in and just be like, hey, throw me the ball when it matters right now. So I hope to God that we're able to get him and pulled off some kind of magic wizardry to get him up here, man.
Yeah.
What about you?
He's a different talent. And you talking about top 10 ever to play the receiver position talent. I'm not saying that he's there yet, but I'm saying talent-wise, you just can't get a 6'3.5", 6'4" kid that can stop on the dime like he does with the ability to go up and get the ball. He can route you up. Again, he stops and starts better than, most small guys. So to get him would be a pleasure. The thing that you think about, okay, he's 32 years old. How long is his shelf life?
Yes.
Now, we're seeing quarterbacks play into their 45 in Tom Brady, right?
Very true.
Can receivers get that longevity? No, we know they can't get that longevity. But realistically, I think Julio has a good 4 years before you start to see a serious decline with him. I say at the age of 36, you start to see a guy like Julio start to go into his Larry Fitzgerald, third receiver, still productive, but, he's on his serious decline. But at 32, with his history, I think that, he'll get another 3-4 years without, declining. And with that being said, can the Eagles afford him? Because the Falcons are going to want a first-round pick. They may want a player. And if they want a player or a first-round pick, do you want to give up one of your young receivers that you just drafted? Do you want to give up a Devonta Smith? Do you want to give up a Jalen Reagor? Do you want to give up a Brandon Brooks? We know we'll give in Zach Ertz in a heartbeat, but they just drafted Kyle Pitts. So it's very, very unlikely for this move to happen. And I'm sorry for crapping and raining on your parade. When you think about it, we are cash strapped.
Yes.
and you're going to, you know, give up on the offensive line like with Brandon Brooks trade with that. I wouldn't do that. Or do I want to give up a Devonta Smith for Jalen Reagor with so much youth and so you don't know yet? I don't know. The first round pick is no problem. I'll give a first round pick. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't, because he's still a cap hit too. So it's very, very unlikely.
So you successfully raised my expectations and then dashed them gloriously.
What about it? It's never going to happen. Exactly. It's never going to happen. All right, so let me transition. One more receiver thing that's been over the wire. All this week, Jalen Reagor came out and said in his presser, right? He wasn't supposed to say it, but sometimes the comments and reporters get kind of a little tricky on you, and he let everyone know that he's going to be, in a slot. Now that says a bunch of things to the receiver lovers out there, and a lot of you guys love tough, hard-nosed football, dependable people. If Jalen Reagor is moved to the slot, does that help us? And then what does it do with Greg Ward? When I heard that, automatically my brain went to, okay, if Jalen Reagor is going to the slot, Greg Ward is most likely not playing much at all because he's not an outside receiver, doesn't have the speed to be outside. So there's a litany of questions that goes there. What do you do with Greg Ward? Who's the other outside receiver? Is it Travis Fulgham? Is it Quez Watkins? Is it John Hightower? Is it J.J. Arcega-Whiteside? What happens there? So that just like scrambled my brain when I heard them say that. And I see why they're doing it, but I didn't think it would be a move that they would proclaim so early. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree. I think like when I look at Jalen stature wise, he has tremendous speed. I originally think he's more of a slot player also. Okay. And especially, from what you're telling me about him, almost looking like a running back strength wise, that's perfect, in my opinion, perfect typical slot type receiver. As long as he works on his quickness and his route running and his sharpness inside, I think he can do phenomenal inside. Now, I agree with you 100%. That does cause some issues for Greg Ward, and the way that it's got to be, honestly. And then this is what I've been really getting from the head coach Sirianni all the way down, is it's competition, the best of the best. Now it's got to be truly the best of the best are going to play. So go into camp, whoever's your best receivers coming out of camp, they got to be on the field. And then, at that point, hopefully everyone's kind of been basically sharpening each other to the point where now you're in a situation where, number one, if you do get released, you've got enough good film to where you can sign on with another team. Mm-hmm. And best case for the organization, you're able to move another receiver like a Travis Fulgham, right, to another team for a late round pick. Maybe someone gets hurt in camp, maybe a receiver gets hurt, and a team needs a receiver to come in, and it's the best situation for the Eagles because they can get a pick. And it's a situation for, let's say, Travis or Greg Ward, where he's able to go to a team where he can step right in and play. So hopefully whoever it is, they go into camp with the mindset, really just OTAs and camp with the mindset of, I'm competing. I'm going to go out there and do my best. I'm going to give it my all, and let's see where the chips fall.
Yeah, it's got super competitive with that move alone. It was already competitive. Yeah. It was already competitive, but it got super competitive with that move because now you're beginning to say, okay, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside may not make the team, or Greg Ward may not make the team, or Quez or somebody. It's going to be two receivers that's a good chance that two receivers don't make the team, and or at least one. So it's very, very interesting. I like the move. I know that he's strong. He's catches the ball well. He would be more like a Randall Cobb in heyday with Green Bay. Yeah. And which was a highly productive player. He can even be better because he's more explosive than Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb was pretty explosive, and Jalen Reagor is very explosive and more explosive than Randall Cobb. So those are the things that came on my mind. So, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's definitely practicing what you preach from Sirianni's perspective, right? So, and if you see that from that position, I know they're a younger position, but it's still, this man's not playing at all. He doesn't care about the fan base loving Greg Ward. He doesn't care about any of that. He's trying to get the best 3 receivers, 4 receivers, best players on the field. And whatever combination of that that comes out, that rises to the top, then so be it. But I tell you this, it's going to be very, very hard to get rid of Greg Ward because he knows what he's doing on each and every assignment. And you hope that Jalen Reagor will learn that from Greg Ward, because Greg Ward is that guy that's hard to get out of the league, get off of your roster, get out of your team, because he's going to know everything that you want him to know, and he's going to execute it, and he's going to be dependable. And there's value in knowing what a player is going to do on Sunday. Absolutely. And even though the young guy is more talented, it's going to be hard to get him off your roster. So that's my 2 cents on that subject. But we're going right into the questions, Q. Let's go right into the fan questions. We had a bunch of questions that were kind of similar. The first question that we had to do with the playbook and how hard is it to learn. All of the analysts and players alike talk about a new system and guys learning a new system. How hard is that? Can you give me a story or go down memory lane for the fans that are watching us? Tell us about, a story or something that had to do with you learning a playbook.
So with football, it's very well with defense, I should say, it's a lot different. For the most part, defense coverages are coverages. So I would say for a defensive player, the most difficult time is the first time learning your NFL defense. And so my first NFL defense was very difficult. Jim Johnson's defense, so that to me, like, that was the pinnacle of difficult. You had to know how to blitz cover, play cover 2, cover 4, cover 3, cover 1. Like, you had to learn all those things, all the little intrinsities inside of the coverage. And so to me, like, the most difficult thing, but I do have a little bit of a funny story. So my rookie year, I was in the secondary, and back then they kind of mixed in every now and then. A young player like myself would get in with the starters or the top guys. So that year, my first year, Troy Vincent was still our cornerback. We still had Bobby Taylor, and so I was technically a number. No, right?
I was just messing good.
No, I'm aging myself, but no. So like. So that was Lito Shepherd's second year, right? So, so I was a 3 or a 4. Lito was in number 2 corner. He was behind Troy Vincent, right? So we had a blitz. It was a cornerback blitz, and in certain adjustments, the cornerback's not supposed to blitz, right? It messes everything up. So I called the blitz. I didn't recognize that the coverage dictated that we needed to take our cornerback off. So during the cadence, Lito starts to go, right? He starts to blitz. He's like running, and then the thing was, it was an audible. So he was almost like in the backfield when Donovan called the audible or whatever. So you basically saw that. Long story short, I told him to blitz. He wasn't supposed to blitz. So the next day, we're in meetings. The next day, Jim Johnson is I think he obviously knew that I told him to go blitz, and he wasn't supposed to blitz. So he rewinded that play like for 20 minutes, and he just waited and just kept rewinding. And then, like, eventually I was just like, put my head down. So long story short, like, that was my first time ever, like, experiencing, like, listen, man, you need to learn this defense no matter how difficult it is, no matter what's going on, because you're going to look like an a-hole, and you're going to make your teammates look like an a-hole by you just not speaking up. So that's 2 things I learned. I learned learn the defense, and number 2, in the meeting room, as a safety, you take the fault, you take the blame for it. So that's my main story right there.
He kept going back. He's not gonna admit to it.
And I know Lito the whole time was like, man, Can you please say that you told me to blitz and just got me looking like a fool? I was a rookie free agent, man. I was like, I ain't saying nothing. I ain't know nothing.
Anything. No, you go out there. You was first round. Exactly. I ain't do it. It wasn't me. You did the
Oh man, Lito, if you're listening, man, I'm sorry about that. I know I told you this over the years. Probably I've told you before, but I'll tell you again. I'm sorry. Had to do what I had to do. What about you, man? What about you? What was your experience learning multiple playbooks?
Well, so I had a complicated playbook in college because it was West Coast. But this was the granddaddy of them all when you come to Coach Reed and you get to his brain, right? Because there's so many. So for the fans out there, let me just give you an idea. When you get a playbook, this is about the size of this is an actual playbook, right? And this is the smallest playbook I've ever had, right? So this is one of them, right? So it gives you an idea of what we have to do on offense. It gives you maybe 17 installs. And within those 17 installs, there is a mixture of all types of plays. There could be, backed up plays. It could be short yardage plays. There could be third down plays. It could be red zone plays. Depends on the install for that week. And they could be categorized into, gap run scheme, zone run scheme, man scheme, goal line scheme, whatever it may be. RPO scheme, whatever it may be. And so there's a bunch of plays that you have to learn, and the team is dependent on you to learn it. And Coach Reed's brain, that means that anything can change at any time. That's how he did it. And you learn your base offense, most of these plays, your base offense. And each week you have a set of base plays that you've learned throughout training camp. That's a base offensive play. And those plays can stay the same, but we usually dress them up. But then you have about 25 plays off of those plays that are designed for a new team. And that number can either be expanded or lessened based on how well we retain it on Wednesday's practice. If we're messing up a bunch on Wednesday's practice, that's the day we first to go out and practice, because the game plan is introduced to us Wednesday morning, right? To the players. The coaches go over it Monday and Tuesday. And then it's introduced to the players for the first time Wednesday. And we're expected by the practice start time at 2:30 or 3 o'clock to know the game plan for that particular day. And it could be the first time we saw the first the new 25 plays. But your brain gets so used to doing it over and over again, you can kind of compartmentalize and bring a concept over so you can remember it. And I thought it was the most fascinating thing in college, because it was the first time I did it in college, is that they was expecting you to learn a whole new set of 25 new plays on a Tuesday. It was Tuesday in college, because we played on Saturday. Like, man, what in the world is that? And after a while, your short-term memory just gets like super, like it gets really good. Like right now, if you tell me something, I'll remember it for a week, because my brain is geared to remember things for a week. Now, after 2 weeks, it's gone forever. But for a week, I'll remember it. So those are the things that you can kind of take away from this, is that on offense, there's a lot of moving parts. And within that, there's so many site adjustments, especially for the slot receiver. You had to know when you were hot. You had to know, you have to alert the left tackle or the right tackle or tight end to that side if there was a corner blitz off your side and what the route adjustment was. There's a bunch of different things that you had to know. So that's an idea. Now, my story that goes along with this, Q, I got so many stories, but I'll tell you a story that made me realize that it's important. It's so important for me to know this playbook, right? I remember in training camp, and we had Reggie Brown, and like you said, they mix you in with the ones every now and again, especially as a draft receiver. They mix you in. They want to see what you can do for a starter. And I remember in training camp, them calling, a screen. It was a time. It was quick screen. It was like a time. It was like a little signal. And I didn't get the signal, right? And we're playing against, and this is a live period, right? And I didn't get the signal. And I was in the slot. I was supposed to go out and kick out the cornerback, and Reggie goes inside of me. And I forgot, and I didn't get the play. So ball snap, I don't know. I'm like looking. So, whenever you don't know the play, you're taught that you run a go route, because it seems like you get the ball. When you don't know the play, you run a go route. So I'm booking it. I'm hauling ass. I'm moving. Crack, boom. Sheldon Brown, smack. Tag Reggie Brown. Tagged him. And Reggie looking at me cross-eyed, dude, what are you doing? You're going to get me killed out here. And Donovan's and Coach Reed, Avant, and it was the words going back to the huddle. And I realized then, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get somebody killed, especially at this level. Do you guys remember how hard Sheldon Brown hit
Reggie Bush?
Yeah. Sheldon Brown had a wallop when it came to a free shot. So you can imagine the crack that he gave Reggie Brown in practice. And I was like, man, I'll never do that again. So I made it a point to learn my playbook.
For real. And the most important part about that, right, that both of our stories is, if you don't know your playbook, who's the people that pay for it, right? It's your teammates. Right? So anybody watching out there, if most likely, if you don't know your playbook, you don't know your plays, you don't study your film, it's not going to always be you that's to deal with it. It's going to be your teammates. And you go back to the huddle, and they looking at you like
and they're looking at, and Tate, the coaches too. The coaches hate for them to have an unorganized product out there, teams, because that's a reflection of the head coach. That's a reflection of the organization. So if there's a bunch of guys, I remember Mr. Lewis scaring me to death one time when I was a rookie. He came in and speak to the team. He's like, "There's no reason for a block in the back. There's no reason for a missed assignment. There's no reason." And you guys that do that, I was like, "Yo, if you make a mistake, you're out of here fast." And that's how they view it from the top down. So you're a perfectionist, and you have to be in order to play in the National Football League. But this question was, how hard is it for young players to learn the playbook?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
A new concept. Sirianni's here this year. Yes. A new concepts and also Gannon. He's here this year. What are we doing?
So I would say it's easier for first year players. I think it's more difficult for second and third year players that just learned an offense or a defense, and now they've got to basically unlearn everything that they learned before, technique wise also, and then relearn something else. When you're a vet, when you've been in the league a few years, you kind of know, okay, like I said before, I know what a quarters technique is. No matter what you call it, once I know that I don't know, rainbow is quarters coverage, then I know how to play it. You know what I mean? So it's if you're a first, second year player that just learned it, and then you got to try to erase everything that you just learned. And so I think it's very difficult. It's more difficult for the second, third year players. The rookies, it'll be difficult, but you got to remember, people got to remember that the rookies get way more time than the vets do. They got rookie camp, they got OTAs, they got all that time to kind of blank slate and kind of program themselves. Coaches, if you're a good coach, you're going to have those guys programmed to know, defensive wise, to know your four main coverages, your four main adjustments off each coverages. You're going to have them know, your four main blitz schemes and just the basic stuff that you need to get through camp. And so I think this rookie class, I think they'll be fine. I think it's going to be, the second, third year players are going to struggle the most.
That's a great point. And I agree with you. That's so true. The rookies, and here's an extra point to that, add-on point to what you made, is that the rookies are finding out that the stuff I knew in college, most of that stuff don't work. Right? Oh, yeah. So you're being broken down as a player as we speak, because the things that you hung your hat on, the techniques that you hung your hat on in college, you're starting to learn new techniques, or you're saying, okay, this is good, but you're in a breaking ground being broken up. So you're fertile for new information.
Yeah.
as you become a veteran and as you learn systems, you've already tested and tried new techniques. So it's very, very hard to die to old things. And so that's why it's hard to bring in outside talent. Free agents, it's harder to win with free agents than it is to win with rookies, because free agents bring old habits, bring old techniques, bring old coaching, bring their know-it-all to the party. That's the way it goes. It's very, very hard to unlearn things. And it takes a humble player, a very mature player, to trust in a coach. Now, you add that along with having a young coaching staff. Our linebacker coach is 26 years old. Our head coach is very young, and just a litany of new coaches. Now that even grows in the ability to, kind of ignore what the new coaching is saying. So when it comes to learning that playbook, having young players, it's very, very, it's not very easy. It's easier than the older players. But I've been in a bunch of systems. I've been in, Chip Kelly's, I don't know which system that was, but his made up system of being fast, the fast system. I've been in that. I've been in the West Coast system. I've been in a number system in Carolina with, and number system is like Schottenheimer. That's like run play action heavy. They call 787, stuff like that. Seven means like some type of corner, or, post corner. 8 is post, and, that different things like that. The two longest running systems in the National Football League is the number system and the West Coast system. Those two offenses have the longest history. And I remember learning all those things, but those guys, like you said, will be more pliable that are younger. Like the older guys, they're going to say after a while, if it's not working, they're going to revert back to old things. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing defensively wise that I'm seeing is we're bringing, especially like back 7 wise, we're bringing a lot of guys from Minnesota, which is, they've played in the system, Bannon system. So I'm actually encouraged by that.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. All right. So let's go to the next one. The next couple questions. Hey, Q, is there a player that you look forward to playing against?
Like when I was playing?
When you because this is a part of his question. I was just reading down. It says, was there a player that you a particular veteran player you most wanted to play against? Like, is there somebody that you said like, man, if I had an opportunity, I want to play against that dude?
Not anyone in particular. I just always kind of got it. Like safeties, we love them. We're usually matched up with tight ends, right? So I always enjoyed playing against the best. I enjoy playing against guys like Jason Witten. He was the guy was, I don't know how he did it. He was slow as molasses, but it was like he just knew how to use his body and break on at the right time. So I enjoyed that challenge of playing against him. I played against Antonio Gates. I played against Jeremy Shockey. I played against a lot of good tight ends, man. But I guess I would say I just always got up for the challenge of playing against the better ones out there. But nobody in particular that I can think of off the top of my head. No.
For me, being a Michigan guy, I always wanted to play against Charles Woodson. That was my thing. I was like, man, I want to play against Charles Woodson. And then and anybody that was like the best. I used to love it in my time. You don't see this much anymore, but the slot is so hard to play, especially for like the nickel back, that the best player back in our time would go to nickel.
Yep.
So Terrence Newman would go to nickel.
Yep.
D'Angelo Hall would go to nickel. Charles Woodson would go to nickel. So I get a chance to play against all of those dudes, and I thought it was like great. And I had some of my best games versus those guys, and that's what made me realize I can play. But I remember my second year after being hurt all my first year, like me losing sleep because I was playing against Charles Woodson. It was our first game up in Green Bay, the one that G. Lou was dropping all them points. We ended up losing the game.
They put him. That was
wrong. They never had played punt. They never had played punt return in his life, and they put him back there punt return. The next week we had Reno Mahi back.
Yeah.
You remember?
I remember Reno. That's
But
my
I
guy.
remember, but we had that game won, and I remember like me losing sleep, like, man, I'm about to play against Charles Woodson. I'm like, I'm gonna have it ready. I'm gonna do it. And I remember my first third down call, and I told Donald, I was like, listen, they play a bunch of 2-man. If we play 2-man, I'm going inside and I'm gonna take one step and I'm coming right back out. And I had a basic 2-man. Fake like I was gonna cross, swiped the back paw, fell down, had like a 30-yard gain. I was hyped. I was like, let's get over to Charles Woodson. They might can stick me on the best line in the
league. That's what
all
I'm talking
in my
about.
mind. So that for me was the time that I realized that, you know what, I could play in the National Football League, because if I get over Charles Woodson, I can make him look dumb. Like he looked bad. Like he dove 10 yards. Right. And I was like, man, I can play. I can get open on anybody. And that had my confidence right there. That helped my confidence.
We need to get a clip of that, man.
Oh yeah, I gotta bring that clip out.
Yeah, man. Shoot, put that on the NFT, man. That's
there you go.
That's
there you go, right there. I gotta open on John. Let me stop, because Wood mess around and be watching like, dude, you know, deep voice. Oh, you could open on me, man. Referees, that was pass interference.
I know he ain't gonna be talking about pass interference. That dude right there,
he be holding, don't he?
That whole secondary, man.
He got away with holding. They ain't care. Charles Woodson, man, when they don't say nothing. All right, let's transition on, Q. You want to tackle this topic number 2?
Okay, let's see where we at. Let me see. All right, so this is from Pat from Armour. All right, so it says, "Hey guys, Nick Sirianni was asked about what made Devonta Smith so successful. One of the many traits that he pointed out to was that he makes every route look the same. Also, Jacoby Stevens said the same thing at when he faced him at Alabama. He said that he makes every route look the same. So, Jason, can you explain a little bit, as to what that means, and then, what are some of the techniques that he uses to achieve this?"
So it's very, very hard to do. The reason is because the routes are at different breaking points. Some guys everybody runs differently, right? So there's guys that run higher than others. There's guys that run low. The thing is that you have to think about is that you want everything to be sold off a go route. And subconsciously, when you have to stop, some people's body prepare to stop. Or if you have to make, 18 yards and then cut in, some people stop at different times, right? It may take some guy 3 steps, it may take another guy 5 steps. So when you have little indicators, usually all of us naturally have some type of indicator, because our body is telling us that we have to execute something, right? So one guy is running full speed, and then when he's about to stop, his hands fall down. They stop going and they straighten out like this. And the DB, that's an indicator. Or a guy's running full speed and he's low and his body just starts to lift up. Something is about to happen from a defensive back standpoint. Or there's a bunch of tells that happen with receivers that sometimes as a fan, you're looking at it, it's like, man, how did he break on that? It's because maybe the receiver gave him a tail in the route. And the guy that's the best actor, the best that's self-aware of his own, tells, what he's given away. It's hard to master that. And what they're saying is Devonta Smith has mastered the ability to make things look the same. And he has few tails in his route, meaning that he's not going to look down at the ground when he's stopping. His head's going to stay straight. Everything is going to be the same on every single route. And the great ones do that because you don't want to give away some little small indication that can get a guy to up when he does this, he's breaking inside, up when he does that, he's about to stop, up when he looks up, the ball is coming, whatever it may be. He's gotten rid of those tails. And it takes a long time to get rid of your tails, to recognize them. And then sometimes people just don't care. There's some receivers that just don't care. I'm going to stop, I'm still going to get open on you. So it's not always a bad thing, but for most of the good ones that are consistently good, that are Hall of Fame good, they usually everything looks the same. And so that's what they're saying about Devonta Smith's route.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as and the most amazing thing about it is very rare do rookies present that. Like you said, you'll have you'll have a rookie like when Julio came in, that's just a beast, or Megatron that's just phenomenally physically just better than everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have, guys Steve Smith, guys that I played against that just had like a different level of competition, that they didn't run the greatest routes, but they would catch the ball and break tackles. Or you had guys that just tremendous speed. And then you have a guy like Devonta that kind of puts the whole thing together, and he's a rookie. Like, to me, that's the most scary thing as a defender, is a guy that all their routes look the same. Because again, like you pointed out perfectly, you don't know what he's gonna run. And for a safety, it's even more scary, because usually there's gonna be times as a safety where you're gonna be one-on-one with a receiver. There's no way, like, the team scheme up stuff. And as a safety, if you're facing a guy where you don't know if you're about to run a go route, post route, corner route, in route, like, it puts a lot more pressure on you, because the worst thing you can do is think that he's running a sit down and it's a go route. It's touchdown. You don't have the speed to really catch up with a guy like that. So, I to me personally, like, guys like Deshaun Jackson, I think you may have a different opinion, but guys like Deshaun Jackson are guys that I think every route to me looks the same. Now, there's some guys that I can tell what routes they run, no matter what people think, what other people might think. But the guys to me that are most dangerous are guys like this, because you're playing a guessing game at that point. And what it does as a defender is it makes you play slower. It makes you play hesitant. And that's not what you want to do on defense. And so I think it's a tremendous thing that, people are saying that right now.
Yeah, usually like the guys like, and I agree, the guys like Julio, the guys like A.J. Brown. I'm just giving you some guys that I know off the top of my head. A.J. Brown, Julio, no nonsense guys. Those are the guys that usually their routes like look the same. Calvin really has a little bit of wiggle, so some routes are going to look different, but he's so effective and so quick that it doesn't matter. But usually those guys that DeAndre Hopkins, those guys that just run, there's an effectiveness to that. We like the Devontae Adams, we like the Keenan Allen, we like the Justin Jefferson, but their routes, they don't all look the same, because those guys add a little flavor to it. All of my routes didn't look the same, just because I didn't have the speed for all of them to look the same. And that's what you have to have in order for your route to all of them look the same, is that what they're saying is off his vertical stem, his initial stem, you're going to be like, oh, he's coming at me like he's running by me. And that shocks people. The initial shocks them, and I'm stopping. And those no nonsense guys, Deshaun had it when he wanted to, but Deshaun didn't get people out of his back pedal sometime, because all the time he didn't go as hard as he could sometimes, you know what I mean? But when he was on it, I tell you, when Deshaun had it, when it all looked the same, when it was prime time.
Yeah.
if I've never met a dude that's going to show up when the light's on, is Deshaun Jackson. Like, he made for it. Like, all right, you can play a game. You play a game at noon, it's a disservice to him. Give him a Monday night game. Give him a Sunday night game. Give him when the camera's on. He like, oh, it's my time to shine. Jackpot, ready. That's how he is. So during those times, most of America's like, man, every route looked the same. You catch Deshaun on at 12 o'clock on Deshaun. Half of them look good, half of them don't. But on prime time, he ready to go.
He ready to go. I like that.
Yeah. Could you please explain a little bit as to what that means and what some of the techniques we just explained that. All right, let's go to how do you say this? Deshelle? Yeah. Has two questions. I would love to hear more about the defensive alignment, especially what you think our front might look like in the nickel situation, where the safeties will fit in that front in the run. So it's kind of hard, right? So
I got what I should have done last week when we kind of went over this briefly. I did some quick diagrams. All right. So
I'm
gonna go through it real quick. Okay?
No, do your thing. Do your thing. Sorry,
So
I
like this
botched that question.
is like basic football 101. So assume that every one of these offensive, I didn't put the offensive backfield, just assume they have two backs in the backfield because that's just the easiest. All right. So I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you can see it. That's perfect right there.
This is a basic over front. All right. You got your Sam, your Mike, your Will linebackers. This is what I was talking about right here. This is the one technique. All right. So he's right next to the left of the center. You got a 3 technique, what I was talking about, the Warren Sapp. All right. So he's on the outside shade of the guard. You got an end that's head up the outside, end head up the outside. All right. That's the basic over front. Every 4-3 defense basically kind of starts or branches off of that. So this is this is the under front. Okay. So the difference between the under front, see if I can move this. All right. So now you have a Sam linebacker who's walked up on the tight end. This is what I was talking about where possibly Ryan Kerrigan might be. All right. He's on the tight end, head up, beating the stuff out of the tight end. You got the end head up. Sometimes maybe he's a little outside, depending on the scheme and however they choose to call their plays. And then you got your one technique. So like in the over route, the one technique in the over front, the one technique is on this side. Well, now he's on this side, same area on the outside shoulder of the center. And now you got backside, you have your 3 technique who was on this side. Now your 3 techniques on this side, outside shaded at guard, and you're in there. And what this does is basically, if you see like you got one-on-ones on the backside, right? So let's say you're putting Fletch back there. I don't know too many guards that want to go one-on-one with Fletch on the Fletcher Cox on the backside. So that's why I like the under front there. The 4-3 stunt tilt, very similar. To me, the tilt started from the 4-3 stunt started from the tilt, but basically it's the same thing as under front. Sometimes you can have that guy walked up like the true under front. Sometimes you can play off, but now you have a one technique, but he's tilted. So that's why that's kind of like that. And the stunt version of it is the same idea, but now with the stunt, you got a lot of movement. You got tackles, you got slants, you got just a lot of movement by these guys. So the 4-3 stunt is technically what we're hearing they might be running. And so the only difference is from the nickel front, from any of those. And like, again, there's multiple ways I could sit here all night and we can talk about adjustments and all that stuff. I'm just trying to give everyone a basic understanding. So the only difference, the nickel front, I remember I said there was 2 backs in the backfield. Well, now you assume there's 1 back and they take out 1 back and they put in the nickel, the slot guy. Okay. So now you don't want to have Ryan Kerrigan lining up over a slot because it's going to be all day, right? So you take Ryan Kerrigan out and you put a nickel back in. You put an extra corner. They put in an extra receiver. You put in an extra corner. All right. So alignment-wise, the nickel, who was technically your Sam backer, he's now flexed out. And a lot of times if it's a run front or run coverage, the safety will fit inside of between the nickel and the Mike in this lane here, because this nickel, usually he's got either head up or he's got outside in this area and he's got to force it if it's a cover 1 or a cover 3. All right. So that's a basic run front for nickel. There's all different types of things you can do with those fronts. I love the 4-3s. I love the 4-3 under. I love the 4-3 over. I love all of it because you can do so many different things with it. So that's basically in a nutshell.
You took us to school right there. I love it.
Quick.
I love it. I love that. Taking him to school, Quintin Mike.
So
that's great stuff.
I'm excited, man. And you know what? Whether or not it's a 4-3 stunt, 4-3 under, whatever, I think that what we've been seeing with the moves that they make is that they're bringing in the people that can play it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, and also just to piggyback off what Q did, and they were asking about the nickel and where the safety would fit and those types of things. Depending on down and distance, depending on what happens on first down, This defense coordinator has been in 4 and a little bit of cover 2 and those types of things. So if you ever get into that 4, that cover 2, now that nickel defender is going to be responsible in the run game. And, so it all depends on who they have there. There's some talk about who our nickel could possibly be, and Maddox and, other players that we've, drafted. But it all depends on what coverage they're in. If it's like you said, cover 1 or cover 3, that nickel is going to be out there on that wide receiver, and there's a lane for the safety to insert. If it's cover 2, usually the nickel is responsible for one of those gaps in the box, and the safety is usually outside of them because he has no run, responsibility.
Secondary run
secondary.
Force. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch and see this whole thing develop. So I kind of want to hurry up and get to the preseason so we can kind of get a better idea of what's going on.
Oh yeah, we won't see it until then, right? And they don't have any open practices like where I don't think they have any open practices, so we won't be able to see that stuff. I may be able to sneak into one of them. I'll give you some insight. Give a little camera in there. No,
there you
stop. Get kicked out. Jason, you talked about watching film and preparing your releases against different looks and then communicating with McNabb. I was wondering what you think that conversation will look like with the Birds today. Will Shane be teaching our young players what timing should be, or do you think Hurts and Smith are going to be able to make decisions between them? Right. So every quarterback receiver combination, no matter what combination it is, has to have some type of rapport, some baseline idea based on, their plays and what they like. The quarterback usually captains that. He usually is the one that's the leader that says, hey, you guys, when we run in breaking routes, if we run this 18-yard in cut or dagger, we run this route, I want you guys to run through 15 and cut in. I don't want you guys dilly-dallying and wasting time. I want every route to look the same. And that's based on what the quarterback is saying. And then based on what the receiver likes to do, he may have a rebuttal to that. Hey, I can't get in and out of my break on this side, so I'm going to square it off. I'm going to make sure it's on your time. He'll say, as long as it's on this time, they'll drop back, do it a couple of times. Okay, I know that timing, right? And you're getting those routes on there, and the time that you're doing things against and one-on-one, you're getting timing because you're doing your favorite releases, and the quarterback is getting your time. And there's a statement that's made across the National Football League, and especially on offense, is KYP. You hear offense coordinators say that. You hear it on the sideline all the time. And KYP means this: know your personnel. Know the person that's running a route. Know the person that's throwing the ball. Know the person like the back of your hand, because you cannot throw a goal ball to me like you throw a goal ball to Devonta Smith. You can't throw a goal. You will be out of the league doing things because you want them that way, right? Wow. I'll give you the story of Coach Reed and Coach Cully, because Coach Cully told me this story. They were coaching a Pro Bowl. And they had, a bunch of receivers and a bunch of, guys in NFC, that Breeze, and a bunch of guys that, quarterbacks. And none of them could hit Larry Fitzgerald because Larry Fitzgerald was always covered. And Kurt Warner made the Pro Bowl that year. And Kurt Warner was his quarterback. It's like, no, he's not covered. You guys are not throwing the ball. And Fitzgerald ended up winning the MVP and 3-4 touchdowns. You know what I mean? It's because they were throwing the ball to him the wrong way, because they're throwing the ball to him like they had a guy that was going to run underneath the ball. It's like, no, throw the ball short every time you throw the ball, Fitzgerald, because he's going to jump up over everybody and get it. But he's not going to beat you down the field, but just throw the ball short. Anything short is going to be good for us. And so you have to learn that. And every receiver has that. You have to KYP. You got to know your personnel. So there's very few backyard football. Coaches hate backyard football. They hate it. They want you to discuss everything. Now there's time where guys' natural abilities show up and they come forward. But with the young coaching staff, they're going to try to manufacture as much chemistry as they can through the offense, because they're not going to want guys to go outside the framework of the offense. That's why it's important, incumbent upon Jalen Hurts to go to each guy to get what they like when they like it. And he can make standards for every route. Like, listen, if you guys outside release on an in breaking route, I'm coming off you. And now every receiver is going to inside release on an in breaking route, right? He can make those things up by just him being a quarterback. Some quarterbacks hate certain things. Like, if I inside release on a corner route on the inside, I knew 100% of the time that, if it was a backup quarterback like Kevin Cobb, no, I'm not getting the ball. I might as well not do it.
Yeah.
But I knew if it was Nick Foles or Donovan, I was fine.
Okay.
So you got to know those things.
That's beat. I like that.
Yeah. So
that's dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So and with that question, how much faith do you have about Hurts' ability to get on the same page as our receivers and throw with anticipation? That's you. I'm asking you that question.
Yeah. I think
and with the new offense and it's you.
That's going to be tough. I will say this. I believe they have the work ethic to make it happen. It's a lot of young people in that room. So for everything that you just explained, I get a little nervous about it because, a lot of times you need like a vet to kind of show you exactly what you're looking for, what you're looking at. When you came in, we had a veteran quarterback, you had veteran receivers. So you kind of knew exactly what to do and what not to do. And then you kind of figured your way through that. You navigated your way through it and you came up with your own style, and your own style meshed with the offense and the quarterback, right? So now it's almost like this entire offense is just a blank slate, right? So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's kind of a gift and a curse in the sense of, you can all learn together, but you can also learn bad things together. You can also learn things that you don't like too late down the road. And so I do think it can happen, but I think it'll only happen if, number one, there's a base put in place offensive wise, and they are allowed, and I hope that the coaching staff allows them to develop and grow together in the sense of, like you said, having a little bit of wiggle and things that make them more comfortable. And at the end of the day too, we have Hurts is mobile enough, and I hope that he, like we said before in our last show, I hope that he doesn't feel like he's got to be,
a traditional
Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
You can develop a lot of good habits by tucking and running and getting to the next play, right? I think it can happen, but I think it's got to be the right situation, and it's got to be a situation where the coaching staff and the offense kind of grows together and understands each other and kind of make it more organic. So, long story short,
I'm a insert a story here, and this story is how I was able to play 10 years. Running a 4.6 40, right? That's a miracle in itself in the National Football League, right? It's just hard to do that because you got to get open on dude that run 4.3, 4.4 consistently, especially at nickel and corner. And, these guys run 4.4 consistently. So to get open on them is a task when you're not as fast as them. Usually one little move and you're 4.4 with them, you get open by a mile. But when you're 4.6 and they're 4.4, they have room to take bad steps. Like your steps have to be perfect. And the way I was able to do it had to do with what this conversation is about. I had a certain way of playing. I was a rookie. I could not play the way I wanted to play. I had to play the way the coaches told me to play because they didn't think that I knew the offense enough to be creative at all. Who are you? You came from college. You don't know anything. Just we're going to do it the way we like it. And my first year I got hurt, which is not anyone's fault. But in training camp and practices and all those things, I was struggling at times to get open. And it was frustrating because I knew my way worked, because I would throw in the little subtle things and it would be open. They'd be like, hey, you got open, but that's not the way we get open. And it takes some time to develop those types of things and that type of trust. And the way I was able to get open, I had to go to Coach Reed's office and say, look, Coach Reed, you want me to get open like the box, like the design on the box, or like the way it was manufactured on a straight line, go up here and get open. I was like, I can't get open that way. I was like, you guys want me to just run full speed and stop. I was like, I don't run fast as these guys. I can't get open that way. But if you trust me enough, if you give me a little bit, if you can just put a leap of faith out there and let me get open the way I get open, I promise I'll be on time. I promise that I'll make you look good. Just give me a shot doing it my way. Mm-hmm. And he granted access to me to allow me to do that. And nobody could cover me doing it my way. But it took a long time doing it. And part of that was me going to the quarterback and saying, listen, I'm not running this route. We're going to time it up in practice based on how I'm running the route. And I had to go through with each quarterback. And the quarterback would say, oh, Jason likes to do it like this. And you have to communicate that. You can't just make it up. A lot of times you think you can make it up. You can't just make it up. Everything has to be practiced. So I had to show them the way I did things in practice so they can get my style and timing down.
Okay. Yeah. So now can we apply that to this team right now? Like let's talk about Jalen. So Jalen Reagor, right? Is this a situation where, I mean, he's a second-year player. Is this a situation where he's like, does he have the free reign to be able to go up and talk to the head coach? Or
the prerequisite to what I'm telling you is that you got to be a guy that never miss assignments, right? The coach has to trust you enough to say, you know what, he's smart enough to be able to freelance and understand what's behind him, what the last play that was called, what we're trying to set up. That matters, because I can't freelance and there's a route that's coming behind me, right? Wow. Yeah. Because I have to know that I have to get out and clear this out, because number 2 is more important in this look. And coach trusted me to know that. And so until the player builds up enough trust within his ability to learn, his mental capacity, then you give him a little more leeway to do things. But if not, if he can't show that he understands every part of the concept, it's not just your route. You have to understand what the purpose is of the play. If I need to be in the middle of the field at a certain point in time, and if I'm not there, the safety's not going to read me, and therefore he's going to stay on who we're trying to throw the ball to, right? He's going to stay on number 1 if I never affect them. If I get rerouted and I never get up to the safety, he's going to just double number 1. That's the rules of cover 4. It's just how it is. And so you have to know all those things. And if a receiver doesn't know, he's not going to do it. But a guy like Greg Ward, a guy like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, those guys know the playbook. And I think J.J. Arcega-Whiteside needs to go to coaches and say, look, let me get open the way I need to get open.
That's deep.
So because everyone has we look at guys, we may look at DK Metcalf, we may look at Julio Jones, we may look at these guys, or a coach may have a guy. They may have a T.Y. Hilton in the past. It's like, man, run a route like this, run a route like this. Look, man, I'm not T.Y. Hilton. Let me get open like Jason. Let me get open like Jalen Reagor. Let me get open like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Let me get open like me. And until a coach is comfortable enough and confident enough in his own skin to be able to let players do that, it's very, very hard. And that's why the Chiefs allow Travis Kelce to be Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce can't be Travis Kelce on every team. Devonta Adams cannot be Devonta Adams on every team. Keenan Allen cannot be Keenan Allen on every team. These guys have more, like leash, so to speak. They have more trust by the offense coordinators because they go and discuss these things. And I don't know if we're going to get to that page yet, but I would love it because the game slows down so much. Antonio Gates is maybe one of the best that ever did it because he played the game on his terms and on his pace.
Yep.
Yeah, I went 100%. Down a long rabbit hole.
No, that was good stuff, man. Shoot. I'm telling you, man, when I start learning stuff that I never even learned. So
you done taught a whole course today.
We having fun, man. All right, where we at now?
I think we're on topic 3, memories. Tristan S. Or
okay.
or JJ. There's a JM. No, that's another question for me.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Let's go to you. Q.
Let's go. Steve S. We're not going with the.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do your thing.
All right. So this one's for you. Hey, Jason. Yeah. By far the most impressive catch I ever seen on the football field in 2012 against the Bucks. Is there anything about that catch you remember specifically, and were you surprised you caught it? 2012 against the Bucks.
Were you weren't on the team then? I don't think.
I was gone.
You were gone. Yeah. So we were terrible that year. We had everyone hurt. That's actually Coach Reed that got fired, I think.
Okay.
But so I remember because it was third down. It was like one of the first third downs of the game, and Nick Foles was starting. I remember me hurting myself early in that year, hamstring, stayed up, and I turned around, the ball hit me right in the helmet. So that's a couple games before this. But I remember like me still battling that same hamstring. And Nick was begging me like, dude, you got to get back to the game. I knew Nick was gonna give me the ball, so I was like, man, I'm trying to get back to the game as fast as I could. And third down, 3rd and 10, got open on him, got open pretty good, but Nick had pressure, so he couldn't get the ball out when he wanted to. So he had to step up, threw the ball high. He was trying to throw the ball away. He wasn't trying to throw the ball to me. He was throwing the ball away because he had pressure. And I never think about not going for the ball. I remember my coach in college, he's like, dude, why do you go for every pass? He's like, you never going to get that ball. I was like, that's what you think. I'm going to get most of them. I know my ability. So, so he threw the ball up and he was throwing it out of bounds. And I just remember going up and it stuck. And sometimes it sticks, sometimes don't. That's how you go for it. And was I surprised I caught it? No, I wasn't surprised, because I like the stuff I've done in practice over the years. Like it's crazy. So I'm not surprised I caught it. It's just that when they stick, it's wonderful, because you go for everything, and some of them may hit, like the palm of your hand, you can't get to it. But sometimes they just stick, and that one stuck, and that was it. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's the greatest catch," and you did it for Odell Beckham. I was like, man, like in that moment, I wasn't. In the moment, I was hyped, but I wasn't overly hyped, because I wasn't surprised by it, because I've been living in my body. You know what I mean? So I wasn't that surprised by it. So there it is.
That's awesome though, man. You know what? I wasn't on with the team then, so I need to go and look for this one, man. Because even in practice, like I've seen you make some phenomenal catches. Like I used to get mad. Like,
you did used to get mad. He's had perfect coverage.
Because you was a competition, man. We're trying to win every time we out there. So I used to get so mad, man. So,
and I remember the safeties, like y'all used to come up to me a lot, like, man, let's go, because I can get open. If I can cover you, I'll be able to cover Jason with. So
hey, and one-on-ones too, pressing against you. Like if we did it pressing you in one-on-ones, if we were anywhere within 5 yards of you when you catch the ball, we thought that was a win for us.
That's a win. They ain't gonna be that close in there. But I remember. This is how I knew. Like at one point, I was like, man, I'm getting good at this. Is like when you go to one-on-one, and when you go up, the DB goes out because they'll size you up. They'll be like, yo, I'm going up next. And when you start getting good at it, when you run out there and everybody's like, no, you go. That's when you know you're getting good. When the DB is like, no, I don't want to go this one. Let me go there. Take this one. They start pointing at somebody else like, no, go in there.
Yeah, man. Hey, don't you need some work, right?
You need some work.
I want to go up there against Riley Cooper. So I could jam pretty good. I want to get my confidence up.
Man, let me ask you a question. Here we go. Stephen S. asks, what is your craziest Brian Dawkins story? See, now, look, I never had this, right? I never had, like, you are a Pro Bowler in your own right. right? You one of the best tackling safeties I've ever seen as far as like getting people down on the ground. Special teams, just assignment pure, know where you're supposed to be. And to have a guy like Dawkins in the locker room with you, a Hall of Famer, you being a Pro Bowler, like how was that? Because I never had that experience where there was a Hall of Fame type of player in the same locker room as me at my position. How was that? Like what's the craziest like Brian Dawkins story, and how was that?
Yeah, no, it was tremendous, man. It was it was like when you think about it, like I couldn't have wished for a better situation for a guy like myself. I mean, a guy that basically, undrafted guy, no chance to make the team, to be in a situation where it went from that to being able to start next to Doc. And actually one of the biggest things for me was, earning his respect, going on the field with him and him being like, let's go. You know what I mean? So it was tremendous. And I get those questions a lot. And every time I get asked about them, I love answering them because it was just a tremendous opportunity to play with one of the greatest to ever do it and to learn from him on and off the field, learn how he is as a man, as a person, as a father, a husband, like all those good things. And so it was a great opportunity for me. And I was blessed to play next to him. Story-wise, I have so many stories, but when I read this question, the first one that really popped in my head, because like I know a lot of people know all the stories and and all that, but there was one that was just, for some reason, I don't know, it popped up in my head. But a lot of people have seen the video of Doc doing his pregame speeches, and there was one in particular, and it's out there somewhere, and it was a tremendous speech. Like he'd get you ready to go to war in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. I remember, if someone finds it on YouTube, send it to me. I have my blue and orange mouthpiece hanging out, and he's just giving this crazy speech. And if you know Doc, like he kind of loses control of everything. Doc on, yeah. And I'm telling you, so like we're in this huddle, right? And he's like going off, and we're like, yeah. And so if when he's doing a speech, he's gonna hit you, like, he's gonna whatever. He's gonna give you a little shoulder, maybe a headbutt. Well, this time, pregame speech, for some reason, he takes his full fist and just like right in my rib cage. And I'm like, I know
it does contract does.
And I know he didn't mean to hit me in my rib and try to break all 10 of my ribs on my left side. But when I tell you, man, I was like,
that's funny.
He hurt so bad. And this is pre-game, man. I gotta play game after this.
You're trying to keep it together. Like, did he just hit me? Dude, this got to be conduct detrimental to the team right here.
And I still don't even know if he knew he hit me that hard. He hauled off and hit me. So it was, he cracked me pretty good. And I was like, I tried to.
You're gonna cry. I'm crying in the car.
Cry in the car. But so he finished the speech, and I went and got checked out by the training staff. Turns out I had 3 broken ribs, and no, I didn't break any ribs, but I felt like I lost something. But so yeah, if you guys see that video, I don't know if you can quite see when it happens, but I can remember when it happened, and it definitely was it affected the rest of my life. Because every time we had one of our pregame speeches, I just made sure, like, hey, dog, don't be swinging at me again.
No, you gotta tell me I'll be in the back. You gotta tell me that. No, he hit me. I'm forever in the back row. Yeah, don't even question it.
He had one last thing. He had one where he was yelling everybody's name, and he forgot Joselio Hansen's name for a second. And Jose was like, he looked at me, he's like, he forgot my name. We'll talk about that one another time.
That's funny.
Oh man,
that's funny. Yeah, he forgot your name. That's funny. let's keep going.
All right, let's see what's the next one.
The next one.
Oh, this is for you. So Avant, how did you feel after you made that key block that allowed Deshaun Jackson to score the walk-off punt return against the Giants in 2010?
2010. I felt pretty good. I didn't feel pretty good. So we're coming back, and I knew we were going to win the game when they let us get that onside kick, right? So I was like, dude, there's no way that you don't know onside kick is coming here. And I was like, oh, they don't want this game at all. They're just blind, right? So when we got the onside kick, I'm like, we're going to win the game. And because Deshaun wasn't on punt return duty that entire game, so it was the last play of the game, basically. And I remember going over to Deshaun, I was like, yo, you coming in? He's like, yeah, I'm coming in to play. I was like, I'm going to try to block. If I don't, just, I'm coming around my way. And did my best to try to block it, but the guy was setting so hard inside. It's only one way to block a punt in National Football League. It's either through two ways, either through the guy or you beat him up and under, right? It's hard to go around the edge and block it unless the guy just totally gives you a short edge. That didn't happen. So most people don't know this, is that when you're that last guy that's forcing the punt, meaning you're making sure that the punter punts the football. So you try to block it and make sure that he punts the ball. You're usually like the last guy that wheels around late. And depending on the job that's being done, you may be able to pick up somebody, you may not be able to pick up someone. You just don't know. So you just don't want to mess with the punter, right? So you're trying to get a good player. Usually it's a wing or maybe the center or somebody like that, the snapper. And I remember seeing the whole play. So as I'm going around, I see Deshaun like drop the ball. And I'm like, oh, snap. Like, pick it up. We don't want anybody else to get it, right? Because it's late in the game. So Deshaun drops the ball. And when Deshaun dropped the ball, it slowed the defenders down enough for Omar Gaither to block three people, one block. The most underrated part of the whole play is Omar Gaither blocks his man into another two people and knock all three of them down. And right when Deshaun dropped the ball, they slowed up and it allowed it to happen. And Deshaun split right off Omar's block. And I'm like, yo, this is about to hit. So Diassi, like the best tackling snapper in the National Football League, which is a linebacker.
Jack Diossi, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Diossi, yeah. He was like the best snapper, not the best snapper, but the best tackling snapper, because he came in as a linebacker. He came to the NFL as a linebacker. He
was smoking people.
And happened to be a good snapper. So they had like the best combination. Usually their snappers like suck at tackling. But he was good at it. And so he was like the last person. Somebody must have got a real good line of scrimmage because he's the last person, but he can make the play. And I see him. I'm like, dude, I'm about to knock him down. So I just ran full speed at him. I didn't even get low. I was just so happy that I was in position to make the play. And boom, I just ran into him, knocked both of us unconscious. Because it was the worst technique ever, right? I just saw him and I was like, Deshaun's right there. Just go hit him. And I was like, I just went it like this. Knocked both of us out. I didn't lower my shoulder or nothing. I was like, dude, you're dumb. Concussion. We won the game. And I remember me being on the ground, like out. But like the trainer came up to me. I'm like, you know what happened? I'm like,
wow.
And being out on the field, but I was excited when I got to the locker room and I saw the replay.
Took one for the team, man. Yes,
I didn't have to take one for the team. It was just me being too excited. I could have been down, got the victory, and saved the concussion, but nope, I have not.
It is, man.
Yeah,
I don't even remember that play. We had defensively, we had I think it was we stopped them on third down, but I think on the last play or maybe the second last play, I hit the tight end going over the middle, and you know how it goes. I don't remember much after that.
Oh man. See on defense, like it's serious. Like a lot of there's a bunch of collisions that happens, especially with safety, because you guys cover so much ground before you hit.
Yeah.
Man, like you never know. Like, you know, I just pray for all you guys, you know, that's been used to banging heads like that. Me, I see a bunch of people coming, I'm getting down. And I'm telling the quarterback, listen, man, if that ball into me after 3 steps out of my break, don't throw it to me. Like, I don't see you, you don't see me. Like, or you got to do stuff to protect yourself, right? You gotta do stuff. You gotta do like, so what I would do, most people are like, man, Jason Avant is the toughest guy. What I would do is that if the quarterback was late, you just keep coming back to the quarterback. Like, that's what guys do. They sit there and wait on the ball. No, defenders are converging on the ball too. You better meet the ball and you better reduce. Like, if the safety's coming at me and we're running at this path, I'm going flat in front of him. So I'm gonna be headed right for him. Nope, I'm going underneath and I'm gonna get the ball. I'm gonna set my angle so you can think it's that angle. Then I'm going underneath. So you have to like learn little tricks in order to keep from getting your head blown off. And so, but if it was,
that's smart, man. Sure.
Yeah. Now listen, 4 steps, I started looking the other way. 3 steps, I started looking like he ain't throwing me the ball. Like, no, you ain't, that ball ain't for me.
not me. That's funny, man.
I'm just joking. I would go after everything and take the hit. I wish I could be like that. Chris Carter would be. That's who told me to do that. Chris Carter's like, listen, he don't throw that ball 3 steps out of the break. He ain't throwing it to me. It ain't for you. It ain't for you. It's for somebody else.
Hey, that's smart, man.
Yeah, it is smart. I wish I had that mentality. I was such a team guy. Yeah.
Man.
All right, we got a few more questions.
What's that? Oh,
yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, a few more questions.
We're having so much fun, man.
It is, right? How does veteran players deal with knowing their time on the roster is in jeopardy because of a position battle in camp with a younger player? Ooh, that's tough. That's tough, right? Especially when the younger player is looking at veterans for mentoring. Like, how does that work? How does that guidance work, right? That got to be like an uncomfortable situation for you to be a veteran player. You know your time is done. Like, for an example, like you knew at Zach Ertz at some point when they started targeting Dallas more that his time is pretty much up. Or Brian Westbrook when he was, when they drafted LaShawn McCoy, or, Donovan McNabb when they brought in Michael Vick, or on and on and on. Sean Constantine when they were trying to replace you with Sean Constantine. Like, how does that stuff happen? What's your mentality with that?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. You kind of know the writings on the wall. The times with Sean, when I was competing against Sean, it was a little more difficult because I was still, kind of in my prime, and I just felt like that situation was just so weird because I was still in my prime. Sean was still young, and I felt like I had done enough to at least get a chance. So that part was a little bit, tough to deal with. But I want to say the most time that I dealt with it was when I was in my last year in St. Louis. That year was the first year of Jeff Fisher was the head coach, and I'm trying to think that. So that year was when we drafted the Rams drafted Janoris Jenkins. Trying to think. So we had Janoris Jenkins,
Tavon Austin.
No, he was the next year. Hold on.
Okay,
I'm pulling it up right now because there we go. So, all right. So that was a year. So that was Michael Brocker. So they drafted secondary wise, Janoris Jenkins, Tremaine Johnson, a couple other guys that were, that Michael Brockers, guys that are still playing. But those were 2 guys in the secondary. But also that year, Rodney McLeod came in as a rookie free agent out of Virginia. And and with the whole new coaching staff and the whole new scheme, I just kind of knew the writing was on the wall. But I took the mentality of they're going to have to push me out. They're going to have to earn their spot. Like, they're going to have to beat me out. So I took it as a challenge, and it wasn't easy. It was frustrating because you just kind of know when it's you're on the last leg, and new coaching staff, you feel like, okay, now this is it. So it was tough, but I will say this: because I knew how difficult it was for me coming in as a rookie free agent, not really ever getting reps. I did everything that I could to make sure, Rod and the young guys felt comfortable, that knew the offense, knew the defense. Because at the end of the day, even if let's say I still made the team, we're still gonna be relying on each other because Janoris ended up being a starter, Tremaine ended up being a starter. So I looked at it as I'm going to be a quote unquote player coach and help these guys the best that I could, even if it made me uncomfortable. Me personally, that's the way I am because of the way I had to deal with things coming up. It's not the same for everybody. And then I ended up getting released in that spring. So
sucks.
So, I mean, it is what it is though. I'm happy with the way things worked out. It was tough though. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I've had so I'll give you guys a story. Here's a story. This is a story for your butt, right? So I'm in Kansas City. I'm in my last 2 years of playing. I know I'm in my last 2 years of playing. Coach Reed wants me there, but he doesn't want to override his GM, which was John Dorsey at the time, because he wanted them to feel, empowered. He didn't want to do what he did in Philadelphia and create like turmoil and beef with the GM situation. So he is giving the GM his full due. You want the player, you make the decision. I'm coaching him. So he's told the GM 17 times, look, man, can we get Jason Avant, And the GM's like, no, he's not fast enough. He's lost the step of whatever. I say what I needed to say in Kansas, in Carolina. I told the offense coordinator that he was being too conservative and that they let Cam sleep in meetings. And I got kicked out of there. And Kansas City called because it was no money that they had to pay me. It was just like a veteran contract. It wasn't much. So Coach Reed convinced John Dorsey to get to bring me there. I go, it's cool. The next year they draft DeAnthony Thomas. DeAnthony Thomas, this, speed kid out of Oregon. I knew a skill. I seen him play many times. I knew that he was a gadget guy. He wasn't going to be a great NFL player, but he would have his place punt returning and being a gadget guy. He wouldn't be able to get off the line of scrimmage or do stuff like that in order to make splash plays like he did in college. I've seen it too many times. Mm-hmm. So Coach Cully is like, the receiver coach, who's also the head coach of the Houston Texans right now, David Culley. Mm-hmm. He's my receiver coach at the time. He's like, and he loves me. He's like, dude, they bring the younger dude in. They're going to try to give him the spot, but you show him that you much better because I know you better than him. I knew when they wanted me to draft. I knew. So anyhow, I'm playing outstanding. They draft Marcus Peters too at corner. I am taking him to school every day. Like shaking him off the screen, like in practice, like in the film, like you literally, when I catch the ball, there's nobody around. It's like, man, he catching routes on there. I'm shaking his face off the screen, and doing it to everybody in practice. And I go a whole training camp and a season without dropping the pass. Mm-hmm. And I would say at the end of training camp, Coach Cully brings me inside. It's like, listen, I'm benching you. I'm like, benching me. I'm making everybody on your team look bad. Old man killing y'all. And he's like, no, it ain't about you benching. He's like, you making, John Dorsey, like you making him look bad. It's like they want this young guy in front of you and we're not giving him an opportunity to play, and you're like showing him up, and you messing with the confidence of Marcus Peters. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I was like, wow, it's the first time I realized, like, dude, I thought I was all that when I was young, but really I was only half as good as I thought because I was just the younger player that was talented. But that doesn't mean that the older player was bad or that he wasn't a little bit better, but it's a system that way. Once I realized that the first week I was frustrated, I was hot, but I began to think about it. It's like, would I want that for myself if I was in this situation? Because DeAnthony Thomas had nothing to do with that. Yeah, he had zero to do with it. So what I did is that I began to be the best cheerleader and coach that I could possibly be for the rest of the season. Travis Kelce would come to my locker room, dude, how do you do this move? Like, I'm like, all right, here you go. This is how you do it. If you want to get this release, do this, in and out, here, boom, boom. I was like, no, that's not it. Oh, that's it right there. Give me the whole cell. And he started using his shoulders and going in. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And you started to become this player coach because you can relate to him better than the coach can because you're with them every day and they see your talent, they see your skills, and you can demonstrate it. Usually a lot of coaches, they fail because they can't demonstrate it, or they need to find an example of a perfect play on film for you to be able to see it. I can do it in the moment in time. So D'Anthony Thomas began to get better. Travis Kelce began to get better. All the younger receivers started to get better around me. And it was hard because I wanted to just be like, man, forget everybody. I'm going back to the crib. I ain't need your money. I can go back to the crib. But I was a constant pro, trying my best to encourage people. And before you know it, everybody got hurt that season. And I didn't want anybody to get hurt, Jeremy included. And we ended up in a playoff game. And I'm the only one with playoff experience. So they had to put me in the game, and I balled. And I said what I needed to say at the end of the press conference. All the reports like, why didn't you play more this season? I was like, because the general manager's a dummy, and I got kicked out. That was my last time playing in the NFL.
You should mic drop them, man.
Mic drop. Because I didn't say it in those words, but basically that's what I was saying. And it's like, hey, listen, I'm not the person that tells me I can play and not. I did this in practice all year. I did this all season. I've been doing this my whole career. So I don't know why you guys are surprised. They didn't want me to play. That's it. So, but basically, the general manager was a dummy, and that was my revenge. And I was out after that.
That's perfect revenge, man. And like a lot of people may not. I mean, they may or may not know, but ultimately, a lot of times it's the general managers that have the final say on the game day rosters. So, when you hear someone's a healthy scratch, or someone's deactivated or whatever, a lot of times it's because the GM doesn't want that person playing for whatever reason. Sometimes the coaches will go to bat. Sometimes they don't want to deal with it. Sometimes they can't. They don't have the control. So a lot of times that falls solely on the GM. So, he wasn't there much longer after that either. So
I got my. But the thing is that the only way that moment was possible was me being a good teammate and not thinking about yourself. And that's the goal of any sport. As much as we talk about and we joke about, make your money and, receivers, divas and all that stuff, as much as we talk about that, the life lesson is that you accomplish more thinking about others than yourself. That's what life is about. Life, the reason we're stressed out as a country, the reason we're stressed out as just people in general is because everything is about us. Yeah. It's all about us, all about us. When we think about other people, it takes your focus off of you. You begin to see yourself in a bigger picture as a piece of the puzzle, how you can help assist, how you make someone's life better, or you complete it, whatever it may be, whatever step you're on. And that's how I was able to get through that season, starting to realize, like, you know what? Anthony Thomas has a family. Let me help him feed his family. Mm-hmm. Travis Kelce wants to be the best. Let me give him the little I learned to help him become the best. And before you know it, everyone began to do it. And it becomes a culture, and it's not about you. But that's my little 2 cents that I'm preaching to the choir, as you know.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think that may be all of our questions. See, we have no.
We can leave that one for next.
We can leave that one.
we can leave that one. We've been
we've been on for a while. We've been on for a while.
We'll get to that question next time.
All right, we're gonna answer more questions next week. Q, you sign us off today. Come on, Q, sign us off today.
Oh man, no! Don't put me on the spot. You so good at it. Listen, man. You take it. You take it.
All right, you guys. I haven't said anything about Launch Trampoline Park in a while. Come out, Launch Trampoline Park, Deptford, New Jersey. We have rock climbing, laser tag, dodgeball, Ninja Warrior course, arcades, birthday parties, corporate events, whatever you may want. Entertainment, pleasure. We're about that. We do our best to make sure that your party runs well. And again, come check us out. I'll be waiting tables. I'll be playing dodgeball, kicking your kid's butt, and anything and all things. And come on out, Launch Trampoline Park in Deptford, New Jersey. I want to give a shout out to my man, Jeff, my man, Adam, Hunter, everyone that's in the background that made this show possible. Each and every week, we have fun doing this. This is not something that is a chore for us. We delight in doing this. Me and Q have a good time seeing each other, talking about our stories. So we just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. I know we always say we want to get in 45 minutes to an hour. We can never do that because we love talking about football. So excuse me if you guys are getting mad about it. But we want to say thank you to all the fans out there that are making Q&A show a success. And we'll be coming with more content, more questions, whatever you guys have. I may have missed a question or two. We'll take it over into next week. And we are signing out from the Q&A show. Make sure you're checking us out. Inside the Birds platform, YouTube channel, Amazon Music, Inside the Birds at gmail.com. Also, our show drops every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Check us out on the morning drive to work. And we'll be back at you guys next week with fresh fire, more insight. Q's going to give a whole class breaking down more and more defensive coverages. That was a great job today with Q on the ones and twos. Got the coaching tablet out and everything. Coaching paper. I love that. So you guys have a good night, Q. Good to see you, my brother.
Good, man. Great to see you as always, man. Great stuff.